thumbs up. Let me know you hear me. Cool. So we got Patrick Woods on the line. Patrick, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Now, you want via video? I'm hoping, yeah, there you are. So what will happen as we talk, we should fall onto your front page. Emily's working on some new systems for next week that will allow us to kind of just put me and Patrick up for everybody and limit everyone else. So you'll see that going into some of next week's calls. But Patrick, you've been in the thick of this for a while out there in California, correct?
We have. We maybe weren't as early on as like the Seattle area. We were, I think I mentioned on one of your leadership calls, our school district in Elk Grove, where I own a market center, was shut down for a week on, I want to say March 6th or 7th. I believe it was the first school district in the country to get shut down. And literally everybody in California was saying that they were way overreacting, that was ridiculous. And that was on Saturday. By Wednesday, the NBA shut down, and it didn't seem so ridiculous.
Right. NCAA, then NHL, then NBA, and then the states. And
everything.
Well, and that's a challenge of people in a leadership role right now, isn't it? You know, every decision you make, half the world thinks it's great, half the world wants to chastise you for it.
Absolutely. And I've made the decision, pun intended, right? I made the decision that I'm going to err on the side of overreacting and have people make fun of me later than not in wishing I had. And here's just on that real quick, a lesson learned is the faster we can make decisions and get to the next decision, the better off we're going to be. Yep.
If you've ever seen The Martian, I thought The Martian with Matt Damon was a great movie. At the very last scene, when they're asking him, how did he survive? And he said, I just solved one problem at a time. And that's kind of like where we are right now. And know that a lot of times when I talk to people, I'll start with at this time, because the information we get changes so quickly and so rapidly that, I'll never forget 2 weeks ago, we said on Thursday at this time, we're letting open houses operate this weekend, but we'll see. And on Friday we said, okay, no more open houses. We're shutting them down. And again, people were upset because they wanted to do their open houses. So, as we get information, we make the best decision we can in that moment, knowing that we'll need to pivot every second. Again, another pun for pivot shift.
Exactly.
It's a very popular Facebook group right now. So I know, what's that?
I was just going to say that the big thing I'm looking at right now, it's even more than pivot, it's reinvention.
Yeah.
Right? Some of you guys have seen the Simon Sinek Zoom, where he's talking to his team, and he says the companies are asking not what do I need to do to survive this? The ones that are asking, how do I need to change to survive this? Are the ones that are on the other side.
I was on a call earlier where someone was asking, has anyone put a home under contract virtually? And the answer is yes. Right now is your chance to start showing houses virtually, do open houses virtually. Just because we can't get face-to-face doesn't mean we have to completely stop. Install. This is a great time to reinvent how we do it and change rapidly. And the people that are doing that are going to come out on the other side of this with a much stronger business. So just to kind of set a template, Patrick, and then I'm going to ask you a few questions. One of the things I've been focusing on with people is there's two types of people in the world right now. There's the people that are kind of putting their heads in the sand and just waiting for it to pass. And the other ones are the ones just doing whatever they can to keep things moving. And my fear is, and we looked at some numbers yesterday on one of the calls, a lot of our MLSs, we're dropping listings taken by 60, 70, 80% over last year. We're dropping under contracts by 50 and 60%. So my fear is for the people that are putting their heads in the stand and waiting, that when things pick back up, you might not see income until December. Whereas the people that are doing some actions right now have the chance of making a little bit while this is happening, but being able to jump back in a lot faster. So Patrick, with the people you're talking to, what are some of the things you're encouraging people to do right now in order to stay in action and keep some degree of business moving?
Well, and some of this stuff is probably things that you've already talked about, right? Because it's been interesting as I've been coaching market centers around the country. Last week I had market centers that said, this is ridiculous. This is not that big of a deal. And market centers and agents and leaders that thought the sky was falling. And as the days and weeks have gone on, everybody's kind of gotten in the same boat together.
Yep.
Right. And so number one, the biggest thing, so there's two things that agents need to focus on right now, and that's expense management and driving revenue.
Yeah.
You cannot cut your way to a raise. right? And
And
so
let's just hit that on the head a little bit. If we're talking under contracts dropping by 50, 60%, that means some point in the future, I'm preparing market centers to perhaps have zero closings come June and July. So realtors, you need to make some of those cuts in your personal life right now, because if not, you're going to feel that come June, July.
well, yeah, and I mean, just as simple as picking up your phone and going to the app store and managing your subscriptions in there can save you a couple $1,000s a year with the $9.99, and because in good times we have this thing called expense creep. Oh, it's only $19. It's only $39 because times are good. And then and here's what happens too. One of the things I did is I went out and we canceled all of our business cards. We called the bank, said we lost them, went and got the new cards. Because what happens even is on the annual things, you sign up for Beachbody on demand to try it out.
Have you signed up for that, Patrick? Come on, fess up.
Yep. Everybody's signing up for it now, I guess, right? Because we're all at home. But you sign up for that, and you sign up for an annual subscription, and then you forget about it, and then a year later it hits your bank account, and you looked at your last 3 months of bank statements, didn't see it on there, and all of a sudden you get a charge for $199. It'll typically hit you at the worst possible time.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So doing some of those things will be a big help. The other on the driving the revenue. Go ahead.
But know that we found out yesterday. I did the same thing with my business cards. And some things that we're signed up for as subscriptions, our bank is Capital One. They'll still allow subscriptions to carry on to the new card. So don't think that will completely help you. You'll still need to pay attention to some things that are considered subscription services, and you need to go out and purposely cancel them.
Yep. So I've done this with my market center. I've done it on my personal. I've done it on my team. So I'm a MAPS coach. I'm an OP of a market center. I have a real estate team, and I speak and train and all that stuff. So I'm doing this on multiple fronts. Here's what we're telling all of our agents on driving revenue, because you think about this. I'll back up a little bit. The people that filed for unemployment, the new numbers came out today, right? 6.6 million people filed for unemployment in the last week.
Now, I'm not sure you touch on this. I was just reading the article. This is a new record high. The last highest week in history was back in 1982 with 695,000 filing that week.
Yep.
10 times the highest week in recorded history.
In like 60 years. And so the last week was 6.6. The week before that was 3.3 roughly. And then the highest before that was 1982. So think about this. If you look at that graph over all these years, it does this little peak and valley, and then it's a cliff, a straight up cliff. And so my contention with that is, and this goes to what the agents need to be doing right now, is when somebody comes out and says, restaurants are closed, bars are closed, movie theaters are closed. That's why we see this massive uptick. When we saw recessions happening before, it was a gradual uptick, right? This is a cliff. And so what my belief is that at some point, when the dust settles, those people will be pulled, a large part of them will be pulled back into the workforce, right? So you have a deal that might have gone south because they had to verify employment and they lost their job. When they get their job back, they're going to be ready to buy again. Yep. So in all of this, think of it like a garden hose. We've taken the garden hose with water on and just bent the garden hose and put a kink in it.
Just kinked it, yeah.
Yep. And so the water is slowing down. It's coming to a trickle. Maybe it even stops. But the pressure on the other side is building up. You open it up and the floodgates are going to open. So no matter where your market is right now across the country, number one thing you can be doing is reaching out to your database.
Yep.
And what's funny is we tell our agents this and they go, well, I know Keller Williams has been telling me for the last 37 years I should be reaching out to my database, and I haven't done it. And now it feels a little weird.
Yeah, so how do you open that? If you've never done it and you're making the first call to your database ever, are you going to call them up and tell them about the new listing you just got, or the fact you got some buyers looking for a home? Does theirs fit the bill?
No, and that's where everybody freaks out. They feel like they're being opportunistic. And let's just, can I get permission from everybody? We're going to have a business conversation today. Right? We know that this is a pandemic and there are people that are dying and getting sick, and we have to be super smart about it. And so this isn't about being opportunistic. This is about, one, we've got a natural emergency going on, and two, we don't want to have a second emergency in our business because we didn't do what was needed right now.
Yep.
Right? So we're going to have a business conversation with an understanding that this is a very real issue. So the biggest thing that we tell our agents are, okay, so if I back up a little bit, and we ask our agents in our market center, and we say, okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling as far as being loved and cared for and led and supported during this time?
No, when you say that, you're saying that by your market center, by your
By your
region?
market center leadership.
So let's just hit that question for a second. On a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel you're being supported by your market center or your region? If you want to throw a number in the chat box, feel free. I'd love to see what some of those numbers look like. FYI, I'm seeing 10s and 11s right now, Patrick.
Yep. So like this is not uncommon. Everybody's seeing this right now. Like I'm seeing 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. I've seen people say it's a 99 now on a scale of 1 to 10. It's a 436 on a scale of 1 to 10. Like I'm seeing that. Here's what I want everybody to know is that your market center is your region is modeling how your database should be feeling about you right now.
Yep.
So,
I'm going to hit that home. You know, Gary models for the regions models for the market centers model for the agents on how you should treat your databases. So everything you see us doing, I've got agents doing Zoom calls with their database on how they can, you know, give people some thoughts on saving money and inviting them into profit first sessions and things like that. So this is a great time to do the same thing we're doing with the people in your database. Love it.
Yeah, and it's simple. It's how are you? Do you need anything? I'm here to help. And I can guarantee you, so here's the other thing I've seen a lot of market centers I've been talking to, the agents, you know, we're sitting at home, we're feeling a little isolated, and it's pretty easy to watch the news and get kind of depressed about what's going on in the world out there, and our head's in a little bit of a funk. Right? And I guarantee you pick up the phone and start calling your database with those three pieces. How are you? Do you need anything? I'm here to help. Your day is going to get better. Your mindset is going to get better because 10 out of 10 calls, you're going to leave feeling better. That person's going to leave feeling better. And probably 6 or 7 of those calls, the person on the other end of the phone, because they know you're in real estate, is going to say, so how is this going to impact the real estate market?
So before you go on to that next part, I do want to let you know in about a second in the chat box, Emily is going to post the Shift customer care script from the Shift classes. So you're going to be able to download that right from the Shift, the chat box. It's a great script to use on that initial call. How are you? How's your family? Are you being affected? How's the job? So kind of what Patrick just said, that'll be the chat box in just a second.
It's purely a care call, right?
Yep.
And invariably, a large percentage of those calls become a real estate call because people are super curious how this is going to impact real estate. And so I'll give you an example. One of my agents, she came into my office before we were on like fully lockdown, and she goes, she's the same thing as I feel really weird reaching out to these people. And she came back in. We were 6 feet away when she came back into my office, right?
Definitely 6 feet. You had the ruler, right? The measuring stick.
Yeah, I had like a stick that I measured out at 6 feet, and I just carry it with me, and I whack people to get too close. So the thing that she came back in, she goes, oh my gosh, there's 2 people that I just reached out to. I haven't talked to them in 3 years. We didn't talk anything about real estate. We had the most amazing conversation. And you know what's crazy about this is now I feel safe to go have a business conversation later because I had this call today.
Yeah. And to that vein, I've been saying the same thing. If you stick your head in the sand and talk to nobody and start calling them in 7 or 8 weeks, that looks a lot more insensitive than if you were just touching base and checking in today.
I mean, we don't have to do a show of hands. Think in your mind, out of your database, how many people in your database know more than just you as a real estate agent? Right? Everybody in your database knows multiple people that are in real estate. And if you're not reaching out to your database right now with the care calls, somebody else might be. And when the dust settles and the floodgates open, you're going to watch some of these people in your database put their homes on the market with somebody else.
Yep. And it's interesting, Patrick, we've been on the phone with Gary the last day and a half for RD meetings. And Gary was saying how he hasn't heard from his car dealer. He hasn't heard from his insurance person. He hasn't heard from his dentist and even his doctor, who's probably busy, but he hasn't heard from the doctor. So what would we look like if we're going out and checking in with people and see how they're feeling? We may be the only caring call they get because we're all getting emails from every company we've ever done business with on how they're dealing with COVID-19. But no one's really reaching out to see how we're doing.
Yeah, and flip that script. Call your car dealer. Call your doctor. Call your dentist. They've got a database too.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Wow, Patrick's awesome. He reached out to me during this. I'm going to refer everybody I know to him.
Yep. Again, now you're modeling for some of those other service professionals you're in business with, right?
Absolutely. And you're showing your value. And I mean, that's the thing is all these calls, I mean, what I'm doing here, people are zooming all around the country right now at just pouring in value on the leadership level. And it's exactly what we should be doing to our database. Because even if your business has slowed down, it's varying on different parts of the country. If your business has slowed down, all we're doing is we're kicking that can down the road. Yeah. It will pick back up again, and we want to make sure that we're in first position when it does. Mm-hmm. I don't want to look back going, woulda, coulda, shoulda. I remember after the Great Recession, the last shift that we had, for the last 10 years or so, people like you and I, Michael, are going, man, I can't wait for the next market correction. Yep. Because that's when we shine and that's when we can steal market share. Yep. Well, guess what? We're here.
We're here. And the market share you gain in this market, you won't lose in the next market. But is this, as we talk about first calling people, Pat, we've also been talking about that second touch. Because after you call and check in with them, we're talking, Emily, you got that? We're talking quite a bit about people then sending the handwritten note. This is a better time than ever to send a handwritten note, because I've read lots of articles that say people's favorite part of the day right now is going out to their mailbox, because it's the only time they're getting out of their house. So they're looking forward to going to the mailbox like they never have before. So after you give them that caring call, sending out a little note card, a handwritten note saying you're thinking about them is going to send a huge message to your database.
Yeah, think about what else. Like, this is my favorite question right now. What else is possible? I can't do an open house. What else is possible?
Yep.
I can't cold call. What else is possible? This came from one of the calls I did yesterday. So you think about the virtual open house, right? There's going to be things that we do during this that we come out on the other side and they don't go away, like Zoom. If I told an agent 8 months ago that you should do your buyer consults over Zoom, they would have said, no way, I need to be belly to belly with my client. It's impersonal.
You're out of your mind. That'll never work.
Yeah, guess what we're all doing now? So think about this with a virtual open house. If you're doing them and you figure it out and you get a system down because you've been doing them, if I go to a listing presentation, I tell somebody I'm going to do open houses, I have no way to say I'm going to have 40 people through your open house, guaranteed. I might have 0, I might have 2, I might have 4, I might have 40. And we don't know whether Saturday or Sunday or a better day. We just don't know. It's kind of a crapshoot, right?
Yep.
If we figure out this virtual open house thing and get our system dialed in, we could be going on a listing presentation and say, we don't do traditional open houses, we do virtual open houses, because we on average get 150 eyeballs on your home from a virtual open house. Yep. And we have the data to back it up.
And it doesn't have to be just Sunday. It could be any day of the week, any time of the day.
Yeah. Now you've got your weekends back because you're doing it on a Tuesday afternoon instead of a Sunday.
Yep. Yep.
And you have something that you can show to a client that nobody else will be able to do.
Yep. And hey, people can go through virtual open houses from their desk in the middle of the day. So,
yep.
So why tie up your weekends doing the open houses? That's fantastic.
You just think about some of these things are going to stay after this is done, because people have reinvented, they've pivoted, and they've asked what else is possible.
Mm-hmm. So what are any other things you're seeing people do right now in order to be outside the box, be different? And you've been on a lot of calls with a lot of different regions, and I can say we appreciate you because you've been quite a bit in the New York tri-state region. So anything there you're seeing that's just like, oh, wow, plug into this?
Well, so I'm seeing the virtual showings, throwing the client in there and doing that on FaceTime. And it's funny, the conversations that happen. So even in California, we shut down for like a week with no showings or anything like that because we were waiting to be deemed essential. And so now we're kind of a big deal because our real estate is deemed essential on a limited basis, right?
Yep.
And so some of the things that I've seen, it's in the conversation even. So, okay, now I can't go show you the property. So we're going to have the buyer come to the house with the seller there. And now we're going to call the seller and say, you know what's great about this? Normally you don't get to interact with the buyer and tell them all the great things about your house. And now you do. So sometimes it's just in that little conversation, the way we set up with our clients. What else am I seeing? Again, it goes back to what else is possible. Like some of you may have seen Cody Gibson's son is a hip hop dancer, right? And so he did this Zoom. Because you think about it, all these parents now have their kids at home. And I don't know about you. On my coaching calls, I hear people on the other end of the phone going, I'm on a call.
Go upstairs.
Exactly. And so I'll hear it out in the family room every once in a while too, just like anybody else. And so what Cody did was he had his son hop on a Zoom and did hip hop dancing for anybody's kids that wanted to hop on. What I've seen. And so think about what you have at your disposal that you can use to add value right now.
Yep.
I saw somebody else, they said, okay, I'm going to send out an email and I'm going to call my database to see if anybody has any college-age kids that are home right now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if they would be interested in tutoring elementary or middle school kids. So now that college-age child or that college age person who's at home studying from home now can get a job tutoring, which also provides leverage to the parents who are trying to work from home.
Right.
So they've connected their database and created opportunity for everybody.
By the way, if you have a child or a college age student that wants to tutor younger kids, please let us know. Shoot an email to Emily at kwrg27@kw. We'll create a list that we can share of folks that might have kids that want to help other kids. That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah,
we'd leverage it right here. I spent an hour doing 7th grade math last night.
exactly. This isn't how they did it when I was growing up, right?
Yep, without a doubt.
But it's just thinking about what else is possible.
Yep.
If we have limited contact and everybody's favorite part of their day is going out to the mailbox, what can we do to add some fun? What can we do to create some support? What can we just try stuff? And that I think is the biggest thing, is try it. If it doesn't work, move on.
I just want to hit a few of the questions and comments in the chat box quick so I don't forget them. One was, what are your thoughts on how to best handle a mortgage forbearance? Pat, feel free to chime in on this. There is no national mortgage forbearance. A lot of banks are helping people defray payments right now. You've got to call your physical bank and open up that discussion and get that approval. Don't have people think they can just stop paying the mortgage for the next 90 days. They've got to call their bank and enter into a written agreement with their bank.
Yep.
You agree with that, Patrick? The other thing I saw is the unemployment is because independent contractors and self-employed are allowed to claim, which they never have before. That was just announced on Friday. So any claims before this week wouldn't even include any of that. Even most of the realtors haven't even started that process yet. They're still doing the paperwork. So any unemployment previous to this week would not have included any independent contractors, because that was just announced at the very end of the day. Patrick, and one of the things we definitely want to make sure we touch on, I'm scrolling back through these lists, make sure I don't forget anything. You're a big Tony Robbins guy, and I've been talking a lot lately that realtors are very social. Nice. I should have worn my Firewalker shirt today.
Right?
I've been talking a lot last couple of days, especially, that realtors by nature, we're social people. Mm-hmm. We're interactive people. So my fear for realtors over the coming weeks when we're stuck at home, I'm in a basement right now, which is a fun way to spend the last 2 weeks. There's going to be depression. There's going to be all kinds of issues we're dealing with as human beings that we've never dealt with because we've never worked in this kind of environment. What are some of the suggestions you have for people to control their state, as Tony would say it, or take care of their mentality?
Well, I mean, we could go into a lot of details on this. So just think about, there's a couple things in here. We've hit on some of them. One, your physiology is going to be big. So if you're working from home and you're working on your sofa and you're kind of slouched back like this, and you got Netflix on the background, that's not going to be a good spot to be in. If you think of any time where you've been like, because we've all been in those worlds where it's like, man, can I just get a stinking break? Yep. And then we've had the ones where it's like, I'm on fire right now. Nobody can stop me. And I guarantee our physiology, the way that we stood, the way that we looked at people, the way that we spoke was different when we thought we just needed a break to when we were unstoppable.
Yep.
So just have an awareness. Like if I wanted to sit here and say, I'm feeling depressed, if I asked everybody on here to sit like they were depressed, I bet everybody would do the same thing. They would slouch, their head would be down, they wouldn't be making eye contact, right? Their breathing would be shallow. So just know that if I'm standing up, like if I'm on my calls, most of the time I'm standing up and I'm walking around just because that gives me energy.
Yep.
So that's one thing. Have a daily cadence. Make sure that you're active. You're doing your exercise. You're going out for walks, all that kind of stuff. That's going to be a big deal. Pretty obvious. Make sure you're eating right. Don't do the COVID-19, the 19 pounds we put on. Being home, being in isolation. Here's the other thing. Fight your natural inclinations, because the natural inclination is when I'm having a bad day, I'm just going to, you know what, I'm going to hit the pause button today. I'm just going to watch Netflix. Or you say, you know what, I need to hunker down. I just need to shut my door. This is true whether you're in the market center or working from home. When people are having a bad day, I see them come in, they go, you know what, I just need to put my head down and power forward. I'm going to shut my door. I'm going to bang out some phone calls. Then you go in your office and guess how many phone calls you make? 0. Because you hop in, you're on Facebook, you're doing all these things. And what you need to do in your market center, if this was a different time, you'd go open your door and go hang around other people that have good energy.
Yep.
Then that goes back to calling your database. Call your database. If your head's not in the right space, call and just, hey, Michael, I just want to reach out and let you know how much I appreciate you.
Easy
the,
call,
the
right?
reciprocity that you're going to get from that is going to fill your bucket. So most people will say, oh gosh, I need to fill my bucket so I have anything left to give. Well, if you give, guess what? Your bucket's going to get filled.
Yep. Yep.
Right. So that whole, the more you give, the more you get mentality, it may not come directly from this. It will come from something else. So that's one thing. The other thing that I would look at is be in action, not emotion. Right. So to go into the fire walk, Tony Robbins talks about that. It's kind of a metaphor because people will go up to that grass right before the coals. So they're 2,000-degree burning coals, and they'll go up to that grass. And some people will just start walking. Some people will just
do a power
stand
move.
there. Yeah, they'll do their move. People will just stand there and they'll, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm going to do this. I can't believe I'm going to do this. I can't believe it. And then finally something clicks and they start walking. And here's the thing. Tony says in all the decades that he's been doing this, nobody's gotten halfway through the coals and just stopped walking. And you're going, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm on 2,000-degree coals. This is impossible. I'm going to just stop right here.
Never been done. Never been done.
Never been done. Once they start walking, they keep walking until they get to the other side.
Right, right.
So that would be my thing right now is what can you do to make sure that you keep walking, that you just keep taking the best next step. When you find yourself overwhelmed, ask yourself the question, what is the best next thing I need to do to move things forward, and go do that. Cool moss.
Cool moss. You got it, Kalinka. And Ian, one of the things Tony says that I love it is motion drives emotion. You know, so if you want to feel better, go and do something. I mean, I've gotten back to elliptical every day. I've been off that for a while. Every day just to start the day that way. Actually, I spent about $167 and I got a stand-up desk. You know, so I've got a stool, a chair, and my feet, and I'm actually spending more time on my feet. You'll see me move a lot during the calls. I'm doing 15, 16,000 steps a day just because I'm standing up at my desk while I'm working. So you know, make sure you're doing those things because that motion drives emotion. A lot of firewalkers. Post in the box. Post a thumbs up or exclamation in the box if you're a firewalker. Get outside for a couple minutes every day. You know, actually, I went out last week. I was fried. I went out and took a 15-minute nap in the sun. And it's amazing what that can do for you on a great day. That was the last time I napped, but it was great about a week ago.
But here we are in this, we're in an interesting time, and it's going to, I mean, if you follow successful people, you'll see a lot, like Tony Robbins, you'll see similarities between what Tony Robbins says and Jim Rohn says and what the bold laws are. You're going to see a lot of similarities, right? And so just, here's the thing that we need to keep in perspective right now. How many of you have gone outside and seen more families out for walks? How many of you have seen families work? Like I go out and I see families working in their yard together. I can't tell you. I went to go drive to our market center to sign checks. And as I was leaving, I saw 6 people spatially distanced on a run, right? More people out on a run than I've ever seen in my neighborhood ever.
Yep.
Right? So we got to keep perspective here. There's a lot of really great things that are happening right now, even in spite of all this negativity. We get to hang out with people. There's also, this is a big opportunity. So if we start thinking, gosh, my business, because there's the finite game of what's happening right now. Then there's the infinite game of this is our career, not our day, week, or month. Gary Keller always did this thing where he'd say, okay, let's draw chicken scratch lines all the way down for your entire career, right? And those are all the transactions that you did in your entire career. And he goes, point out the one transaction that if that thing didn't close, that would have been it. You couldn't have lived without that transaction. And if we're taking that step back where we're looking at the whole of your career, most people can't pick something out like that.
No, there's not one they can point to.
Yeah, so let's keep this in perspective. Is what we're doing right now is for our career, not for today. And it's pretty easy to get caught up in today. And we need to be focusing on the activities for our career.
Yep. You have no control over the next 30, 60 days. You know, they've shut down till April 30th. In our region, I'm telling people to plan into June, that we'll probably be working from home in this environment into June. You know, May 31st at best. So, you know, you don't have as much control over the next few days. All you have control over are your actions, the things you do, the decisions you make, the people you reach out to, the actions you take. And the actions you take today are going to determine what your July, August, and September look like.
100%. On the action thought process, I just like, there's so many things that my brain, I have ADD like crazy. And so my brain's all over the place on stuff like this. So I apologize in advance. The thing I look at with action, so as a maths coach, say I have an 8 o'clock coaching call. I don't get to say, I'm just not feeling it right now. I don't think I'm going to do that call, because somebody on the other end is paying good money to have me show up and be my very best on that call.
Yep.
And here's what's interesting. I do my first call and it's awesome. My second call is even better than my first call. My third call is even better than my second call.
Yeah.
And so if you can box yourself into making sure you do the activities, no different than when I was a listing agent and I would go on my listing presentation and say, when I list your home, I'm going to door knock 150 doors to let them know that your home's for sale. And that was a listing tool because I know no other agent was doing that, but it wasn't to sell the house. It was my way of boxing myself in to ensure that I did my lead generation because I promised it to my client. So it'd be easy for me to say, I don't feel like doing it today. But if I promised my client that I was going to do it, then I'm going to stink and do it. Right.
Patrick, were you at Recharge a few years ago in New York when it was in Manhattan?
I was not.
So at Recharge in Manhattan, Diana had the Iron Cowboy as a guest. And you might have heard about the Iron Cowboy. This is a guy that did an amazing thing. He did 50 Ironman in 50 days in 50 different states. So for those of you that know what an Ironman is, people that have done it do it once in a lifetime. It's a marathon, it's a 3-mile swim, and like a 130-mile bike ride back to back to back.
Yep.
You know, and this guy, by the 4th one, he tore his shoulder. He was losing his toenails by the 7th one. And what he found was interesting. The last 25, his average time in his last 25 was faster than his average time in his first 25. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's amazing when you get yourself into action and start doing something, you're going to continue getting better at it, regardless of how you think you feel, because you're doing the right actions the right way.
Yep. Energy flows where focus goes. And there's a comment in here. Yeah, there's a Netflix documentary on the Iron Cowboy, which is awesome too. Like even he started cutting out the toes of his shoes to do his run because his toenails were so messed up.
Yeah. He shows a video of an interview where they interviewed him and he fell asleep practically in the middle of the interview. So it's amazing what your body can accomplish when you just have the will to do it. There's also a book there. So, you know, a couple of the comments I saw in here, Jesse, you sent to me privately, I want to share it. We can't control something. The most important thing we can control is our mindset and our attitude. So again, things like this, guests like Patrick will help us drive our attitude and our mindset. I'm going to ask you, if you have any questions for Patrick, post them in the box now. I'm going to ask him to share some final thoughts. We said about 30 to 45 minutes. Any final thoughts you have on this, Patrick, to see if you have any questions coming in?
Well, I think the biggest thing, one, is the whole thought about what you can and can't control. When you so ask yourself the question, do I have any control over this? If the answer is yes, then do something about it. If the answer is no, then move on. Go find something that you do have control over. So here's an exercise that I do with a lot of people. So in times like this, or just in business in general, you may find yourself overwhelmed. How about you? But I've been overwhelmed at times, even during this. And so what I have people do is I've been doing a lot of whiteboarding with my hands lately. So imagine this is a sheet of paper, and this is, I think, my left, your right. And so on the left-hand side of the piece of paper, I want you to write down, like, number one, this is on the highest on the list of what's keeping me up at night right now. Then go to number 2. This is what's keeping me up at night. Go to number 3. Write down all the things that you're losing sleep over that have you overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. On the right-hand side of the page, I go through each one and say, what are 1 or 2 things that I could do in the next 24 hours to move the ball forward on this one thing? And make your list to go after these. And then at the top, I write problem, plan. And when people are overwhelmed and I say, which side of that piece of paper are you spending more energy focusing on? They always say the problem. Now, what we need to do is focus on the plan. There might be a bold law after that. Focus on the plan, not the problem, right?
Yep.
That will get you out of emotion, get you into action. And here's what's funny is when we start to see the progress happening, the overwhelm starts to go away and we start to feel more comfortable, right? So really, like, just it sounds super simple. Take the time to write down what's got you overwhelmed and what I have control over and what I don't, and then write down what's the plan. Oprah says, what's the best next thing I need to do? That's a focusing question, just like, what's the one thing I need to do that makes everything else unnecessary or irrelevant, right? So that's a focusing question that gets you focusing on the plan, not the problem. Here's the other thing I would tell you, all right? I guess it's a tell and an ask. So there's a lot of agents on here, and this is awesome. We've got 275 people on here right now. That's incredible. So thank you for letting me hang out with all of you. I think this whole area is freaking awesome. just by the way. Every call I've done to the New York tri-state area has been incredible, and everybody's been amazing. And so I feel so blessed to be a part of this. Here's the thing that I want you all to think about is where's your energy going? What are you focusing on? What are you doing to make every day better? How are you making an impact in other people's lives? So think about this. Your market center, you all said it on a scale of 1 to 10, your market center is a 10 plus. How many of you know an agent at another brokerage that is not getting led or supported like you?
Yeah,
right?
all of us probably do.
Yeah, they may be, they may not. Here's what I would encourage you to do. This isn't about recruiting. There obviously is an opportunity there like anything else. Bottom line is, how can we be of service and value to the agents in other areas? You all know somebody that you could say, hey, hop on this Zoom. It's going to be awesome. Come with me. You all know somebody else in the market center that you could reach out and encourage too. Because that's going to be the biggest thing. If we could get everybody locked arms together to do more deals, everybody's going to feel better. We're going to hang around people that are doing their lead gen, and we're going to hear cool stories that are happening. We're going to have the opportunity to invite other agents and other brokerages to come hang out with us. And heck, if they see a ton of value in us, in Keller Williams, and in your market center, they may want to continue playing with you, right?
Yeah.
So,
I'm writing a quick note in the box here, to invite people in next week. Monday, we're going to have James Shaw on Monday at 2:00 talking about shift. On Wednesday, next Wednesday, we're going to have Mo Anderson here talking about, mindset, culture, and getting yourself ready, former CEO of the company. And on Thursday, we're going to have Matt Teeter. So, we'll post that. I don't know, Emily, if we have that made for next week yet or not, but we'll post that and we'll get it out to everyone next week. So you have 3 great events next week to invite other agents to, people in your downline to, Brand X to. There are going to be 3 great opportunities there.
think about this. How many Zoom calls do you think James Shaw has done recently?
Whew, I'd say hundreds by now, right?
Is he making any money by doing this?
No.
Right? No, he's just saying, you know what? It's time to go all in and support our people, our industry. And do you think James is good? Here's a question. I'm just going to play this on a business side here. Is James more visible today and more well-known today than he was 2 weeks ago?
I would say, yeah.
Is he going to have more opportunity in 4 months than he had 2 weeks ago?
I would say yes.
And the reason is because he's getting a ton of value. Right? And that's what we need to take away from all this. And that's what we need to be doing in our businesses ourselves.
So what James Shaw is doing in our world is the same thing everyone on this call could do for their database.
Yeah. It's
right. If you haven't been visible for your database, be visible for them now. It's going to create opportunity later.
Yeah. Michael, when you call these people and say, hey, would you hop on a Zoom with us? Has anybody said, nope, not going to do it?
Nope. They're saying, hey, let me give you some dates that work. Yep.
Yeah. Like everybody, this is leadership, folks. People are just jumping in and saying, where can I help?
Yeah.
And it's awesome. And I guarantee you that's not happening everywhere.
It's definitely not. I'm talking to people from other companies, and they haven't even heard from their managers. They haven't heard from their vice presidents. They've all kind of gone, under a rock waiting for things to subside.
Well, they get the same email from their manager that we got from Southwest Airlines, right? Yeah. That's what's happening.
Our COVID-19 policies on safety.
Yeah, wash your hands, to stand 6 feet apart. If you're sick, don't come in the office, like that kind of stuff. And so we need to be doing that. I had another thought and I lost it. And it was really good, I promise.
So I've got some questions. Those 2:00 calls, this URL, whether you used the actual number or you used marketcenterzoom.com, that's a URL that points to this particular Zoom link.
The URL might be different for Mo Anderson.
Might be different for Mo Anderson. So
yeah.
Every day at 2, we use this link. The Mo Anderson will be different. All of your team leaders and OPs and MCAs will have that link later on today. So if you're looking for the link for Mo Anderson or any of the links for next week, they will have a document later on today with all the links for next week. Market Center Zoom doesn't work for me, and I get that. Sometimes if everyone's coming right at 2, it's a forward, so it may block up. So you want to have the Zoom number as well. So we'll make sure we have that. Allie Gamboa said she's blessed to have you as her coach, Pat, and we are blessed too, Allie, because you're the one that called him and got him here. Save that link, put it in your favorites, because that's the link that goes that marketcenterzoom.com goes to. Do you think about your other thought, Patrick?
No, we could go on a lot of this stuff, on and on and on. It's things that you guys have all heard before. And the bottom line is the whole thing from going from being motivated to perspiration and taking action. I can tell you, and I know, Michael, you probably feel the same way, and the team members feel the same way. And like, there's this fine line of being like zoomed out.
Yeah.
And just let's, forgive me, let's just freaking go, right? So I'll share with you this. We had, when we shut down our market center on, I think it was March 8th, either 8th or 9th, I worked from 4 a.m. to 1 a.m. The next day I worked from about 6 a.m. to probably about midnight.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at my calendar on Wednesday and I was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be a little bit of a lighter day. And then by 1 o'clock, the county shut down. At 6:30, the state shut down. And it's been nonstop ever since. And what's crazy is every day I come in here going, oh man, I'm so tired. And then once I start, I leave every day knowing I left everything out on the field, and I leave fulfilled. I might be tired. I am fulfilled.
Yep.
Because we have an incredible opportunity to make an impact and a difference in people's lives right now.
Yep.
And that is a calling that is not to be taken lightly. And that's why I think most people got into real estate, is because they wanted the freedom of their income, or the unlimited income opportunity, the freedom of the time, the opportunity to create wealth in their own lives. And we didn't feel like we were selling anything, because everybody needs a roof over their head.
Yep.
Right? I don't care how good you are. We cannot cause somebody to buy a $500,000 house. We can educate them so they make a smart decision. And so whether the market's going up or the market's going down, if people are getting married, if people are having kids, they might need a bigger house. If they're losing their job or passing away, they might need to sell a house, right? So no matter what, life is going to continue happening.
Yep.
Real estate will continue booming. And right now, they need a compassionate, empathetic, and professional realtor to help them through this.
Well, Patrick, we appreciate you so much. Thanks for plugging into us and sharing some of your time. If I could return the favor for you, your market centers, your region, your people, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know.
For sure.
Happy to help you in return. Guys, thank you for being here. As we've been talking about time and time again, I'm confident 150% that we will get through this, and we will be bigger, stronger, and more successful on the other side of this, mainly because we're all coming together, we're working together, and we're communicating. And that's what's going to make the difference for us versus everybody else. So
Awesome.
Patrick Wood just put his email address in there. If you want to grab that, feel free. We got a request on here for some of my videos. I've done a bunch of training videos. Emily is going to send out to the market centers a Google Doc with a link to all my different training videos that we've done in the last 2 weeks. So feel free to get that from your OP or team leader. And tomorrow I'm doing a session that I did yesterday that people asked me to do it again. It's about getting real, getting right, what's going on out there, and what you need to be doing right now to make sure you're good come July and August. So if you missed that yesterday, I'm redoing that again tomorrow. Tune in for it. Any final thoughts, Patrick?
Here's what I'll leave you with. I threw my email address in there, so if anybody needs anything, like, I mean it when I say I'm all in, I'm all in. So if anybody needs anything, if they want to, pick my brain, if they want a shoulder to cry on or vent to, I'm here. I'll get you your head screwed on straight real fast. Here's what I'll leave you with. No company, no real estate brokerage is as uniquely prepared for this time than Keller Williams. We were born in a recession. We went through the last great recession. We went from number 4 in market share to number 1. We wrote a book on it. And then over the last 10 years, we have responded to more natural disasters and came up with insane systems and support structure. And Gary Keller converted us to a technology company. Nobody in real estate is as prepared as we are for this time right now. So don't let the opportunity pass you by.
And I just have to plus that a little bit, because I remember talking to Josh Team a few months ago, and I asked Josh, of all the opportunities he had, all the companies he could have led, why did he say yes to Gary Keller? And Josh said something interesting. He said, when I met Gary, Keller Williams had just become number 1. And Gary told me that he wants to reinvent his company. And he goes, there's never been any leader I've ever met that became number 1 and then chose that to be a time to reinvent himself. That's why I knew I had to be part of Keller Williams, because Keller Williams is doing things no one else in the world is doing. So we're excited. We got people like Patrick Woods here. We've got amazing leaders like him. We've got the people that will be on the call next week. We've got you guys plugging in. Thank you for being here. We're here for you. We're in this together. If I could do anything for you, you know how to find me. And we'll be here again at 2 o'clock tomorrow if you want to tune in.
Awesome.
Patrick, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Everybody be blessed. Go impact some lives for the positive.
Awesome. Thank you. See you
Adios.
tomorrow.
Thank you.